How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Tales from the Darkside. This is Season 3, Episode 21, the penultimate episode. Next time will be the Season 3 finale. This one's entitled, Let the Games Begin. This one came out May 10th, 1987, and is directed by John Lewis, written by Peter O'Keefe, stars David Groh, Jane Summerhays, and Earl Hindman. In this episode, a guy dies in a hotel room, and an angel and a demon both come to claim his soul. Both say that they have a right to it. Well, since they can't decide, they decide to play a little game. They're going to take on the form of mortals, and whichever one convinces the guy to leave the hotel room with him gets to keep his soul. So a really interesting little concept there. Really almost like one of those old-timey stories you'd hear. And I really do think the concept itself is pretty solid. And overall, I thought the episode played out pretty decently. It's okay. I just wish, with the way things are, I wish it was a little tighter. This is one that could have really been a great episode, and as it stands, it's still pretty good. But the idea is that you get these two competing against each other, trying to trick and manipulate this guy. You could have really written that out pretty tight, but instead it kind of feels scrambly. It feels like trying to keep the balloon up in the air. This situation, well, no, I say this, and they kind of just go a little too haphazardly. I kind of wish this was like overly thought out, like something like Sherlock or Death Note, because these are two really old supernatural beings trying to manipulate this guy. You know, you could write this really, really well. As it stands, it's fine. It's just a little haphazard, and it does have a few problems. One thing I do have to mention is there's an element talking about suicide in this episode. One of the people tries to manipulate this guy by saying he's suicidal, and I know that this isn't going to fly with everybody these days, especially because it is not real and it's just a form of manipulation, and there are a few moments where it's a little bit like a joke. Yeah, that part maybe doesn't hold up super well, and I could see people getting bothered by that. And also the ending, which I won't spoil. They do something with the ending where it kind of is to be a little unexpected, and I can appreciate unexpected, but at the same time, a story like this where it's these two really, fighting each other, I really expected a good solid gut punch of an end that we didn't really get, and I kind of would have preferred. But overall, I don't want to tear it down too hard. If it was tighter written, this episode could have been an absolute classic. As it stands, though, the base concept is still a solid idea. It still does play out pretty fun. It's just not as good as it could have been, a little bit haphazard. But anyway, without further ado, let's talk a little bit about the plot. I want to dig in a little farther, analyze a little farther, say my piece on a few plot points. But that being said, I will not do any major spoilers. I'll be staying away from the end. But without further ado, let's talk about specifics. We open up with this guy. A bellhop is helping him to his room. The bellhop looks really similar to the bellhop from If the Shoes Fit. Not the guy, but the costume. I wonder if it's the same costume. Wonder if it's the same hotel. I don't know. Anyway, the guy is drunk, and he goes back to his room, and he's been at his high school reunion, and apparently that drug a lot of people back to his hometown. I guess it was a bigger deal back then. I don't know, I never got an invite to one. But anyway, he's going back to his high school reunion. He's drunk. The hotel is almost completely booked. and he gets the honeymoon suite, not because he has anyone, but just because it's what was available. And it's the Cleopatra suite, so it's all Egyptian-y. Kind of hoping for a mummy episode for a second, but we didn't get that, obviously. But anyway, he sends the bellhop out with a note for one of his classmates, trying to flirt with her, trying to start up some sort of romance, sends the bellhop out with a note, lies down on the bed, and promptly dies. Yeah, he's dead now. So, after that, we cut to this mysterious red curtain, which I guess is a good abstract way to show this, but a little weird, but at the same time, it gets used in promotional material for this season a lot, so an iconic moment. But the angel and the demon appear behind this red curtain, so you see their forms in silhouette without ever really seeing what they look like in costume. Kind of wonder if anyone on set ever took a photo of them, because I'd be curious to see what these costumes actually look like, because we, again, only get the silhouette of them. But anyway, they start to argue because they both have a warrant for this guy's soul, and they start to read, like the angel starts to read the nice things like you'd see on a tombstone, and the demon starts to read all the bad things that this guy did in his life. And I really do like this concept because, again, in real life, most people aren't 100% good or 100% evil. There's a lot of gray areas, and you get the idea that this guy was kind of a scumbag, but not really a bad guy. And I do like the moral ambiguity there. Well, after arguing for a bit, they decide to take on human forms, and whichever one can get him to leave the hotel first gets to win his soul for their side. The demon takes on the form of his sister-in-law. Sadly, they kind of mumble the in-law part. Sister-in-law, don't mumble that last bit. The sister-in-law, he always had a crush on her, made unwanted advances, and was not a good idea. But now, since it's not really her, the demon is going to try to flirt with him, and that will be her main strategy. Then we get the angel, who's going to take on the form of his best friend. Good choice. That can probably get him out. You trust your best friend, right? That being said, I do find it odd. You think an angel wouldn't be able to lie because lying's a sin? Granted, you could say there's an exception because this is a game, or you could say he's acting and acting isn't really lying. I don't know, but it is kind of an odd thing you do have to get over for the setup. But anyway, after they do that, they start to try to win this guy over, and this is where you can see it moving a little bit too fast and a little bit too haphazardly. The best friend shows up, and he's like, I have to get you out of here. Oh, what are you doing here? Never mind, there's a fire. And then the demon uses magic to create the illusion, oh, the fire's in the hallway, we can't leave. And then she approaches him and says, hey, let's go out. And the fire's just gone from the hallway. He's like, what happened to the fire? Never mind, you want to leave with me. So you see, that's a little bit sloppy, you know? And it is kind of what you might do if you were thinking on your feet and running too fast. But the idea of, oh, here's a fire. The fire's gone, don't worry about it, let's just go. It's just too big, too fast, and too stumbly. And then, of course, as I alluded to earlier, the angel, he's going to try to convince him to leave with him, and he's going to say, this hotel, for some reason it's reminding me too much of my ex-wife, and now I feel sad and I want to kill myself. So that's where we get the suicide element coming in. And you think that that would be the win then and there. There are a few semi-clever, semi-contrived ways that they get around it. But at the same time, you know, your best friend saying something like that, it should be just ignore everything else and get him out of there, right? So yeah, this episode, it just kind of swings a little too big each way, and it really should have been more subtle and more manipulative. And there's a few other things, like they have magic to manipulate reality, but you kind of don't know because they'll use magic to change each other's illusions. And I'm like, what are the rules here? And again, this is something that could go way bigger if they had more of a budget, but you think they would just constantly cancel out each other's illusions. At one point, the angel messes with the girl's high heel and she falls and twists her ankle. And a few things. One, you don't think an angel would do something that mean. Maybe, but also they can hurt each other. In which case, why don't these two just battle it out and then the winner drags the guy out by the neck? Okay, that's not as interesting of an episode, but if they can hurt each other, then why not, you know? So yeah, there are a little moments, you know, a few little things that don't quite work, and I hinted at it earlier. I think the ending is fun and different, and I did like it was something I couldn't necessarily predict, and it was something that wasn't necessarily telegraphed earlier, but I do kind of wish this did have more of a gut punch of an ending as well. A few other little things I do want to mention before I go. To do their magic, the angel has to like wave his hands, but the demon has like, looks like the head of a fork on a necklace that she has to rub. That's a little weird. There's also a weird rock and roll dance scene in the middle for no real reason, but why not? People love dancing. Wednesday, Megan, everybody loves dancing these days. But one thing I really did like is there is a brief conversation between the two where they're just kind of sitting and waiting on this guy, and they talk about the Titanic, and, you know, the demon, of course, remembers it as a fun day, and he remembers it as a tragedy. Oh, you were there? I don't remember you. And then the demon's like, oh, I was up in first class, you know? So there were some fun moments there, and I almost wish it was more just low-key chatting between the two, because they do really bounce off each other pretty well. So overall, I liked it, but I thought it could have definitely been way better, and a few of those swings in the game just go a little bit too big. Overall, though, a pretty fun episode. Not perfect, but hey, it's cool enough, and I can recommend it. The last couple episodes weren't the best thing ever. This is definitely a step up. And after this, we have one more episode. I believe the finale is called The Enormous Radio. That's a strange title. I'd be curious what it's like. Maybe it's in the same vein as the Satanic Piano. I don't know. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. And to everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave my Darkside playlist on the bottom. There should be a Season 1 and 2 overview, as well as reviews for all the past episodes. So that's reviews for every single Season 1 and 2 episode, and most of Season 3. Again, we're getting to that finale pretty soon. Can't wait to see what's up. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Darkside playlist on the bottom. Also the Joe Hill comics in here and the Clive Barker episode. Anyway, have a good day. See you guys again very, very soon. Darkside playlist. Have a good day now.